Broadcasting live from our studio in Boston, Solutions Review is proud to showcase Semarchy in the Solution Spotlight, a unique online event for industry professionals.
I'm Doug Atkinson here at Solutions Review, and welcome to the Solution Spotlight featuring Semarchy and focused on how to make your data more actionable. Every day we see enterprise decision makers come to our site looking for the best data solutions because data only matters if it drives smart growth. So organizations are looking to give their teams the ability to guess less, know more, and make better decisions, effectively empowering business thinkers to ask and answer data questions to drive a real competitive advantage. Which is why we'll focus our spotlight on Semarchy's unified data platform, which enables organizations to quickly discover, govern, manage, integrate, and report critical information scattered across applications for better business insights. In this presentation, Semarchy will demonstrate two modules, XDM for master data management and governance, and XDI for data integration. And you will learn how 80% of their clients measure ROI in under 12 weeks while reducing total cost of ownership on their data management projects. And to walk us through the Semarchy solution from New Jersey is Scott Moore, Director of Pre-Sales. Scott, thanks for being with us.
Happy to be here.
Well, we've been looking forward to this event because ultimately what we see at Solutions Review is that the BI category site that we have, the data storage, data management, data analytics, data integration sites are booming. This is a topic that is incredibly relevant for our audience. And I know you have a lot to get into, but before you do that, I always like to take a moment to have everybody get to know you a little bit better. You're a veteran. You've seen a lot of this space. You've been in a lot of places, and now you're at Semarchy. Tell us a little bit about your journey and how we've ended up having this conversation today.
Yeah, sure. Well, I've been doing master data management now for 13 years, at Semarchy for the past 2.5 years. And prior to master data management, I was involved in all sorts of data management projects before they even called it master data management. So I've had a long career in data management. I've been managing pre-sales and consulting groups also for the past 10 years in master data management.
Yeah, it's great. And you're exactly the kind of expert that we love to have make presentations like this. Because not only will you make a solid presentation, I'm sure, but you'll be able to answer all the questions that we'll get to go along with that. And I want to set expectations for everybody in our audience that if you have any questions, by all means submit them. We're going to save a little bit of time with Scott at the end to go through those. I already have some, and I'm sure I'll have a few more. So we'll go through those as well. But for right now, Scott, I'm going to turn the floor over to you and let you present from here. And we'll catch up with you in a half an hour or so.
That sounds great. Thanks very much. So Semarchy's solution is referred to as the Unified Data Platform. I'm going to spend just a couple of minutes in slides to talk about what the Unified Data Platform is and have a customer reference so that you understand some of the things that our customers are doing. One of the things I wanted to point out that we have been recognized for several years now as an industry leader in Gartner's Magic Data Quadrant for MDM when they had it. And also we've been the #1 choice for Customers' Choice Awards, which are Gartner's reviews from customers who are using MDM products. We have the highest rated score from our customers from Gartner. And we're very proud of that. We do have approximately 300 customers now, and we are backed by a private equity firm. One of the things that we're mostly known for is our time to value and our low total cost of ownership. And the way that we achieve that is that our platform is 100% code free. We generate applications based on the configuration of your data, your models, and your processes. And because there is no development time and no programmers, no DBAs, we're able to deliver that value in roughly 10 to 12 weeks. 80% of our 300 customers are realizing that value in about 10 to 12 weeks. And not only are they doing it for one domain, but 63% of our customers are using it across their organization for multiple departments and multiple domains, further reducing their total cost of ownership by reducing their development costs and their maintenance costs, but also the debt of data management that you receive when your data is invalid or inconsistent and untrustworthy, and what it takes for you to get to that golden data without an MDM tool. The unified data platform consists of two modules, which are XDI and XDM. XDM in the middle is our master data management solution. It contains all the core capabilities you need for master data management around things like data quality, data enrichment, data governance, data management, workflows, policies, etc. And it is surrounded by the optional XDI integration. The XDI integration allows the master data management solution to ingest data from all the various source systems you may have, such as Salesforce or SAP, any kind of database or technology or application. We support over 70 of them. And not only can we ingest data into the MDM using XDI, we can also publish and push that data out to all your target systems, downstream systems like your data marts and your BI tools, etc. And we can also publish that data back to the source systems that sent us the data originally, so they receive the golden data that's been enriched and corrected. In addition to the analytics, in addition to the master data management and the integration, we also have profiling capabilities to help you understand your data and dashboarding to give you views into what your master data is doing. So if I talk specifically about XDI first, it's a full functioning integration tool that has what we call universal mapping. And what universal mapping does is makes this low code environment easy to use with 70 connectors that all behave and look similar in this universal mapper. That means you only have to understand how to use the universal mapper, and you don't necessarily need to know the differences between all the underlying technologies you're integrating with. This makes it easy to introduce new technologies to integrate and make a very fast time to value. This can work as an ETL or an ELT, an ELT being the process where we push the processing of the integration and transformations to the target systems. So this is happening at the target system, close to the data destination, and performing very well because it's performing at the performance of the target installation rather than a intermediary engine. We do not require a intermediary engine to go through to integrate the data. And we work with all kinds of environments like data warehouses, data lakes, NoSQL, etc. You can use this for real-time messaging, Kafka, ESBs, Spark, etc. In all the cloud migration projects you may have, we can be used for ongoing integrations as well as one-time migration integrations. And we also fit well into data fabrics and data meshes. Speaking briefly about XDM, the MDM solution, it's a single application that contains all the mastering needs you need, all around the different domains you may have of parties, places, things, reference data, all these nouns that you may need to master. And it starts with profiling. Profiling lets you understand what state your data is in and discover what your data quality rules should be, what your matching rules should be, what you need to do to improve that data. And then once those data quality rules are defined, we also have out-of-the-box enrichment, as well as the ability to connect to third-party data providers to enrich that data, such as address enrichment and validation, or a Dun & Bradstreet connection, etc. Based on your data and your rules, we generate applications that conform to Google Material Design, making them easy to use and allow users to adopt them quickly. And that includes workflows for process management so that people can collaborate on the creation and correction of master data. Dashboards are available not only on your master data, but also the activities in the system to see how your matching is performing, what state your workflows are on, who's doing what within the workflows. So any of the data or the metadata or the activities in the master data management system can be placed into dashboards. And those dashboards are interactive, so you can see problems in your data and drill right into the actual data to take actions on them. It's a very simple architecture. It is a Java J2EE application, which means it's going to run on an application server in the middle there. That's usually Tomcat. Across the top is how you access our system, whether in development or in production. It's going to be through a browser. And the bottom blue box represents the storage of the data, which would be in a relational database server of your choice, as long as it's a variant of Postgres, SQL Server, or Oracle, including all the Azure and AWS and GCP variants of those databases. We do reach out to third-party content providers. We have an API with out-of-the-box connectors. Also, the API allows you to create integrations to custom providers that you may have on site, and it provides REST interfaces to third-party applications. The orange box being that integration layer with XDI connecting to your existing applications. I want to talk a little bit about Shake Shack. Shake Shack is one of our customers. They needed an MDM solution to get up and running in a matter of weeks, not years, that could grow with them. When Shake Shack started their MDM journey, their first asset they wanted to master was the Shack list. The Shack list is a comprehensive database of all of their restaurants and locations. With Semarchy, Shake Shack was able to centralize their data from multiple sources and systems, leading to increased data accuracy and improved data quality in just a few short weeks. The Semarchy Unified Data Platform fully aligns with the organization's objectives in both the short term and the long term. Shake Shack now has one centralized solution throughout the organization to conveniently access restaurant-related information. Data is validated, updated, maintained, and governed using Semarchy's functionality and their workflows. The cost savings here were really based on eliminating the operational data redundancy costs with a single data management process. This is the process they had of manually reconciling information about their fast-growing restaurant business across multiple systems. Let's switch to the demo now. The demo can support single sign-on in your applications such as Azure Active Directory, LDAP. I'm using Google Single Sign-On to sign in. And when you sign in, depending on your roles and responsibilities, you will see different things. Across the top here are examples of the types of applications we can generate. You can generate as many applications as you want to do whatever you want them to do. As a platform, we can manage any type of data and generate applications to manage any type of data. So these examples are what I'll run through in the demo. On the bottom are the configuration tools that come with the Semarchy platform, such as the application builder, which is where you configure your data structures and your business rules. The workflow builder, where you'll describe your processes. The dashboard builder, where you'll configure what you want to see on your dashboard. The discovery tool, which is our data profiling tool, so that you can understand more about your existing data. Configuration, just to configure the runtime. And then a REST API documentation. We generate a full REST API for your data as it's defined, and we document it in an online application with test messages so that you can test your messages. In these applications, we can do different types of things. Governance, for instance. In this governance application, we're going to talk about data dictionary, business glossary, process and policies, the business terms, how do I link what the business is defining to my data dictionary and where the data is located. So you'll see things like business terms and their data definition. You can easily search for them and then open a data definition and see who owns it, what domain is it in, what is the definition, what is it linked to, what other business terms is it related to, what databases is it in, what column on what table, and what is linking to this from a lineage perspective, where is the data coming from for that business description, etc. And also process and policies, things that you might want to track within your company. For instance, at Semarchy, we have a evaluations license key generation process, which we document. What are the steps? What needs to happen in what order? We have a digital asset management system that allows you to add PDFs, Word documents, spreadsheets, anything that you might want to attach to the process or the master data. So that's an example of data governance. Some people like to use our applications for reference data management. This would be the isolation of all reference data in the organization into a single app so that it can be maintained centrally. And by reference data, I mean things like country codes. Tell me what country codes are being used in my organization, map them together so that I can have different codes from different applications mapped to a standard such as ISO, and what are other standards in the industry that I can map to, and localization of those codes, and things like state codes based on the countries they belong to, language codes, currency codes, etc. And it can also be the industry codes such as NIC codes, and NIC codes being basically the definition of what industry a corporation might be in so that you can categorize it based on your reporting and business analytics. These codes can be versioned over time as new releases come out and mapped between releases so you can understand how the codes change over time. But when people talk about master data management, they're mostly talking about product information, customer information, vendors, suppliers, things like that. So we've generated a sample application of what that might look like. It does conform to Google Material Design, so it works on your phones, on your tablets, on your computers with one single application that will adjust to the size of your screen. It does have Google-like search where I can put in any information and find across all my domains where something might belong. And like I said, it has dashboards. And those dashboards can be about data quality, show me things that are violating my rules, show me categorizations of those rules, what are my KPIs, heat maps, and I can drill into my errors. So how many are missing an image? I need products with image. These are the products that are missing images, and I can drill into that product to take action, maybe to start a workflow to address the missing information. The dashboards can also be about what's going on in my master data management system. So here you can see I'm looking at some of my transactional information related to my master data management. I'm looking at my matching analytics to find out which matching rules are firing, how often they're overridden with manual changes, how often the matches are rejected, and this helps me tune those rules. I can also look at workflow status to see which workflows are executing, what state they're in, who's working on them, how long they're taking, etc. Any type of data or metadata within the MDM system can be dashboard. If we look at companies, this could be B2B customers, this could be vendors, this could be suppliers, and we have the ability to have a list of companies and their hierarchies. For instance, Alphabet owns Google, and Google owns Looker. These types of relationships we can manage in a hierarchy and maintain. You can also drill into an individual company to learn more about it. Information such as revenue, and by the way, this revenue is tied to the business glossary that I showed before. So people can find out what is the definition of this field called glossary, what values are in my source system. Here they are in different CRMs, ERPs, and finance systems, and here are the values in those systems. And what is the timeline that's changed over time in this field? How has this value changed and who changed it? I can also see a timeline of changes through the history tab at the record level. Show me how this record has changed over time and highlight for me when that change occurred, what changed, who changed it. Was it a human doing a manual override, or was it a source system sending me a new value? In addition to the field level history and the record level history, I can also put the entire application into the past. If I want to see what this hierarchy looked like last quarter or last year, I can simply choose a date in the past and decide what I want to look at a given date and time, and the application will be placed in that date and time and the values you will see as of that date and time. And I can export this data as of that date and time. And then when I'm ready to go back to the current dates, I just click here and I go back to current dates. A lot of people talk about location information, bill to address, ship to address, mailing addresses. We can take information that's coming in from your source systems and enrich it and validate it through third-party services, place it on maps, such as Google Maps. We can also do geolocation and geodistancing to understand the distance between addresses, see if they are the same address for things like householding, etc. Cross-domain relationships. What are the contacts from my contact domain at these different locations? Who am I remitting to? Who am I calling for general information, etc.? And then where did this data come from? Show me all the source system records that came into the MDM, what values came in from those source system records, and what values made it to the MDM. And I can see here these highlighted values are the ones that were survived based on my survivorship rules. And you might be wondering, how did those values get chosen? How did the system know which were the correct values and which were the incorrect values? You could do something called an explain record. An explain record gives me a graphical view, color-coded by system. So here's two records that came from the ERP, one record that came from finance. These two blue ones came from the CRM. This gray one came from the ERP, the support system, and finance. And this golden record on top is the record that was created by surviving values from all of these different records. Now, the lines between them show me why these records are related. If I click on them, I can see that there was a 98% match score created because they had the exact name and their enriched addresses were the same. Here's a definition of that match rule, and I can drill into it to understand why the match score was given and what was the logic that was actually used to compare these records. And I can check each of these relationships to see different reasons why records matched for different reasons. And I can click on the golden record to understand how those records were survived. Additionally, I can compare them side by side to see my golden record on the left and the source records to the right. If these values are not correct, I can manually split or merge records together by entering split and merge mode. And that simply says, I understand that this finance record, based on my knowledge, is actually its own golden record. So I simply drag that finance record up to the golden section, and it will survive that one finance record to a new golden record, and it will survive the old golden record based on the remaining source system records. And if I need to override any of those values, I can click on the override option and choose either a different value from a different source system that came in, or enter my own value to override that. And we keep track of overrides. Your survivorship rules can be different. They can say, use the value that came in from the source system until a human overrides it, then only use the human override. Or if a new value comes in from a source system, replace the human override. And those survivorship rules can be different for different fields, for different systems. For instance, I can say a trusted order of which systems I trust more or I trust less, and the order in which I should use those values, or use custom logic to say for different regions or different business units, different information will help me decide which values should be survived. If I want to know information about all of this, I can go to documentation. And when I go to documentation, it gives me lists of what those data documents look like. If I open the B2B entity relationship document, you can see here's the company, it's self-referenced, it's referenced to hierarchies, sectors, contacts, and I can drill into those companies and see different information, such as what is the enrichment. Here's a phonetic enrichment so that the companies can be matched based on how they sound instead of how they are spelled. I can have nested attributes within compound. I can look at matching rules that tell me how these records are matched together, survivorship rules, etc. So here you can see data quality rules, The user can understand what data quality rules were passed. It can look at enhancement, etc. All this information is automatically documented and available to the users so that they can understand what's going on. We also have something called suggested matches. So if I want to manage my customers who are people, I can look at my suggested match queue and see records that look similar, but the system decided they don't have a strong enough match to automatically merge, but maybe a human wants to take a look at these and see if Lois and Louis are actually the same person. So when we review the recommended matches, you can see here there's two golden records, one for Louis and one for Lois, but the system is suggesting this red record be merged into a new golden record to replace these two golden records. Why? Because if we look at this dotted line, it says the records have similar names and similar addresses with a match score of 68. Well, we can see the names are spelled almost identically, and that's what fuzzy matching has occurred to us and says these records might be the same. But upon further investigation, I can see they have different birth dates and different membership numbers, and that indicates that they are different people. It also gives me information to update our matching rules to take these things into consideration. We can also use third-party AI tools to remember the types of decisions we're making here so that the AI ML tool can learn based on the steward's actions and suggest future match rules. The other thing we can do is look at error queues to see what kind of errors have been found from the source system records and see if we can fix them. For instance, in this record, we see the error detail says that the email is mandatory, but it's missing. And sure enough, we see here, there is no email address. Now I can take action to correct this email address, to notify systems that it's missing and it has to be replaced. Or if the data steward has that information, they can update it directly in the tool. With a customer, we can have different information about that customer, such as contact information, date of birth, membership numbers, and this PII information can be masked and hidden based on your rules. We can also combine it with transactional information, such as what is the purchase history of this customer over time and what causes this customer to be high value to me. Cross-domain references allow me to see what items were purchased by this customer and where did they purchase them. Also, maybe who is the manufacturer of this product, cross-referencing it to my B2B customers, etc. Communication preferences can be checked. When did somebody opt in or opt out to be contacted by email, by phone number, physical mail to their address, etc. And automations around enrichments. What information did I derive based on the information I had? We can normalize spelling of names. We can create phonetic versions. We can validate email addresses and determine if they are a valid email, standardizing the phone numbers and discovering where that phone number came from, standardizing addresses, even coming up with nicknames that could be a possible match for someone with this name. All this kind of information helps us identify these customers and find possible matches. This type of enrichment improves my information, and we can also use augmentation to augment this. How do I automatically categorize these customers? How can I tag them with certain information based on the information I have? What kind of hierarchies can I place them in, etc. From a product perspective, if you're doing a product master, we can look at various information about a product. First of all, there is a digital asset manager. If you have images that you need to have associated with your product, we can manage them for you. You can also look at things like completeness. How complete is this product? Is it missing information? Is it ready for production? This one's pending validation. How does it fit into the hierarchy of things? What brand, what family, what subfamily? What dynamic attributes were created for this depending on the type of product it is? How is this product performing in sales? What are translations so that this product can be marketed in different places around the world? How are the definitions and the descriptions handled? what items for this product can be sold, in what sizes, what colors, etc. And again, cross-domain referencing, who is selling these products, what type of B2B customers are providing customers with these products, and then the history, again, what's changed for this product, the explain record to tell me how did this record get matched, and a graph view. If you want to see your information in a graph view, we automatically generate graphs and allow you to see things. You can hide different parts of the graph if you want to simplify it by removing different parts of the graph. And then you can also drill into the graph. If I want to understand more information about how it's related to different things within the graph, I can expand the hierarchy of information and the relationships that it has with other parts of master data. I can print these out, save them, share them, etc. One of the things we do a lot with master data management is create workflow processes around the workflows. You can do things like email notifications to let people know they have work to do, or they have to make an approval, or move something to the next step in the process. We have error detection, etc. And what does that look like? Well, let's do a create product. We have information about it, so I can create a description. So let's say this is Scott's new high heel product that I'm suggesting. I can prioritize it so that it happens at different speeds. I can specify due dates if I have a deadline that this needs to be done by. I can add comments for my collaboration so that people understand my thought process. I can also attach documents to this workflow. Maybe I'm uploading a spreadsheet. Maybe I have a Word document to describe the product, or a PDF or a picture. All that can be uploaded and start the workflow. Now, the workflow will automatically start for the people who are first in the process. For instance, this first step is used to show the basic information. For instance, if I went high heels by Stride Right, you can see the system is automatically augmenting that data, discovering what the brand classification should be, where in the hierarchy it should be, what family, what subfamily, women's shoes, heels, etc. I can enter descriptions for this product in one or more language. And you see this field was required. So as I typed it in, the requirement went from red, indicating it's required, to complete. If I want to know where I am in the process, I can look at the diagram of the workflow process. So here you can see I'm in the new create product process, which will go into a draft form. And depending on whether it's critical or not, if it's critical, it will go right for approval. If not, it's going to go to the marketing team and the supply chain team so that they can do their parts of the process, add their information, etc. Approval can send it for a fix back to the person who created the product, or if it's an existing product that's being edited, it can go back to the person who's editing the product. And once it's finally approved, it can become an active product and active in the MDM. So at any point during the workflow, I can understand what part of the process I'm in. I'm going to publish this to draft. As I publish it, I can add attachments or comments if I want to give information to the person that's next in the process. This My Tasks section lets me know what's going on in my workflows, what things are in progress, what am I working on. So here you can see those duplicates I was managing earlier in the demo that I left them to be dealt with later. So there are different duplicates, different merge and splits that are happening. Reviewing suggestions for different customers. These are all things I'm working on. Team to do says my role is part of teams, and there are things to work on. There's an approval of a product edit. There's create marketing information, create regulatory attributes, etc. And this is for the different things that are going on. For instance, here's High Heels by Stride Right, the one that I just created. And I can start the marketing information of that, assuming that I'm on the marketing team and it's been offered to me. And when I start this, it's going to ask me for different information depending on what the marketing team is responsible for, such as material, information. It could be image information, upload an image. We have artificial intelligence to determine, is there nudity or is the image suggestive? Should it be included or not? Does it have sensitive swimwear in the image? All these types of classifications of the picture that you may want in your system. And then I can do translations for different languages. So it's not letting me proceed because I did not add the image, which is one of my rules. If somebody else is going to add the image, I could proceed anyway and go to translations, or I can hit cancel and save this for later when I have the image left. For regulatory attributes, this is the same workflow, but it's going to a different department. It's going to the supply chain, which is going to do regulatory attributes. And here you can say, what is the sales unit that these are going to be sold in? They're going to be sold as a pair. And what are the dynamic attributes that need to be added? For instance, because this is a high heel, I need to specify a heel height and a closure type. Well, heel height is a type of unconstrained value, meaning I can type anything in here that I want. And the business is saying, I need to describe the heel height, so I'm not going to constrain the value. But, and as you can see, this is now complete. Closure type is not complete. When I look at closure type, this is a type of constrained value. That means I have to choose what type of closure type. This is part of data quality when I need to enforce values to be chosen from a list, from our reference data management, or when I have the ability to add a new value. And these dynamic attributes would be different depending on the type of product I'm creating. If I'm creating a shirt, it might ask me for the size of the shirt, whether it's short sleeve or long sleeve, etc., allowing me to handle multiple types of products in a single process. And then as this continues on the workflow, it'll go through approval and eventually become a real product. I can also look at hierarchies of these products. So if I want to know what's in boys' clothing, and then the subfamilies for boys' clothing, maybe coats, and what's in coats, this mini archer, again, what is the information about it? What is the origin of it? What are the dynamic attributes, definition, etc. Product details. This is going to allow me to do the reference data necessary for the product. For instance, how do I manage what types of brands I'm selling? How do I manage the types of families that I want in my hierarchy? How do I manage the translations of different fields in different languages, etc.? I can have sections where the product details are managed separately. I can also allow the users to import data directly from spreadsheets. So for instance, if I have a spreadsheet that I want to import, I can click on the import and it'll ask me to drop or find a spreadsheet. So let's create a spreadsheet to import. First, we can go to our customers and we can select all of our customers, or we could filter based on what we're looking for. Now, there may be saved filters that other people have saved and shared with me, like I only want my high value customers, and I can combine filters. Maybe randomly I want to type a text, or maybe I want to choose a specific field to search for, or maybe I want to do an advanced where I'm going to say this attribute of created by is equal to who created the product, or and another type of attribute, so I can have multi and or combinations. Once I filter down to the set I want, if I want to save this set of information for later or to share it with somebody, I can save it, or I can simply select it and export it to a spreadsheet. I do have a choice of a CSV or a spreadsheet. In this case, I'm going to export it to a spreadsheet. And now this spreadsheet has been created for me. I can maintain the data in this spreadsheet. I can update any of the information that's in here. I can change opt-in, opt-out options, descriptions, etc. I can create new products or customers. any kind of maintenance I want to do in a spreadsheet. And then when those changes are done, I can import those customers back through the import customer. And when I import that customer and choose the spreadsheet, it's going to give me a sample of what information is in that spreadsheet. If there are multiple tabs, I can choose which tabs I want to work with. And it's going to try to map automatically all the columns in the spreadsheet with the information that's in the master data management system based on the information it has about the columns and the information it has on the master data management system. If it's not able to match the information, I can choose what information I want to map or change what information is being mapped based on the information that's available. If this mapping is something I'm going to do a lot because I am often importing this spreadsheet, I can click on the save to save the mapping that I've created and use it again in the future. This spreadsheet will go through the same process of validation, enrichment, approval that a customer or a product would go through if it was created through the user interface or if it came in through a source system. The system is going to make sure that all data in the system has been validated, enriched, and approved based on the standard processes in the system. So even if I decide to import a spreadsheet, I'm still going to pass all of those validation and approval checks. At this point, I'm going to pause my presentation here and open up for some questions because I'm sure people have a lot of questions about what I've been talking about, and I'd love to have a chance to address them.
A lot going on there, Scott, and truth be told, I have a few questions because when you brought up Shake Shack, it's a little close to lunchtime around here on the East Coast. My mind started to wander off. So I'm going to head down the street and grab some lunch. But would you mind reviewing the different types of master data management implementations that the Semarchy platform supports?
Yeah, sure. We support all the implementation types defined by Gartner, and Gartner defines 4 types of MDM implementation. The first one is based on registry. The concept of registry is I'm not going to bring the data together. I'm only going to bring the keys from different systems and match those keys together so that my BI and reporting systems have all the keys to link different records from different systems together. So that key registry is called registration. There's also a type of MDM called consolidation. And consolidation says, I don't want to necessarily change my source systems. Those source systems are still going to create and edit the data, but I have multiple of them. Maybe I've done acquisitions of other companies, or I just happen to have multiple ERPs or CRMs, and I want to consolidate all that information into one unique set of data. And I want to apply data quality rules, and I want to give data stewards the chance to update some of that information so that my downstream systems, my BI tools, my reporting systems, my data lakes, my data marts can have all that consolidated, corrected information. But it's sort of a one-way street. My source systems are still creating that data, going through the MDM for validation and consolidation, and then ending up in my target systems. The third type is called coexistence, and it's very similar to consolidation in that it's still going to deal with data in multiple systems, bring it together and consolidate it. But in coexistence, it's going to allow the data stewards to correct information from the source systems and send that data back to the originating systems so that these source systems get the updated master data in the source system as well as the downstream system. So the 2 sets of applications are coexisting where both of them can make changes, but the master is going to be the authority of which change wins, and all of the systems will have the master data. And then the last one is called centralization. And centralization means this data is not spread around my organization. I don't have to consolidate it, but I do want to master it through the user interface, through my data stewards, and I want to distribute it across my system. For instance, like a list of vendors. Maybe I only define my vendors in the MDM, but everybody needs that information. So those are the 4 types: registry, consolidation, coexistence, and centralized. We support all 4. We allow you to move between those if you need to evolve between them, and we even allow you to mix and match them within one domain.
Nice. I have more of a technical question that I wanted to get your thoughts on, and that is for analytics that contain transactional data, is transactional data brought in as well, or is there a virtual connector for that data?
Yeah, and this is a bit of a controversial topic. I hear this debated in MDM circles a lot. Should transactional data be brought into the MDM? Should it be referenced by the MDM? And some people will say no, they're purists. Transactional data should not be in the MDM. I'm of the other opinion. I believe that transactional data can give you context about your master data so that you can make decisions about it. For instance, if you have two customers that you might think are the same customers, their buying history, their purchase history may give you insight. They're shopping at the same stores, they're in the same geographical location for those purchases, they're using the same online systems. That information can help you decide that they're the same customers. Also, I talked about using a mastering system to classify my customers about whether they're high value based on their purchase history or not. How much business am I doing with suppliers? What is my exposure across my supply chain to a given supplier? And for that, I might need transactional information. And I do have two choices. I could call out to my transactional systems and dynamically collect that data. And that might be useful when I'm trying to make a decision. Or I can bring transactional data into my MDM. We're very high performing, so we're not afraid of high volume. We have customers with billions of records, so we can bring in that transactional data and do some analysis through our dashboards, etc. But I will caution that we're not trying to be a BI tool. That analysis is really around mastering, not around doing business intelligence. But I think transactional role has a role in MDM, whether you bring it into the MDM or not.
Yeah, now another more technical question regarding ingesting existing reports to trace lineage. Can you ingest existing reports to trace lineage for existing? Well, the questions that I got is a little oddly worded, but can you speak a little bit about ingesting existing reports?
Yes. So there's a couple of things that come to mind with this question. There's lineage of the master data. Where did it come from? And then there's the lineage of the report. Where did the data come from on the report? So we can do both. It depends on what you want to use your master data management system for. If you want to know the lineage of the data as to how it became that value, you would use the tools that I showed in this demo that show you where did the source system have the value, which source systems came in with the value, what rules were used to choose that value and make it valid and choose it as the golden record, and how is it sent to that report. The other thing you can do is use our data governance capabilities to define the metadata of that report and define the metadata of the MDM and define the metadata of the source systems and trace the lineage of how did this value on my report end up here and why is it the value it is. And that lineage will say, okay, the report came from my data lake and it mapped to this value in the data lake. That value came from the MDM, which mapped to this value in the MDM. That value is mapped to 3 different source systems, but the value that we use is from source system 1. And now I know that that report has this value on it because source system 1 edited that information on this date and time. So there's also that type of lineage at the report level.
Well, and actually, I don't know if that was exactly answered, but one question from the audience is, how does it ingest and manage offline data?
Offline data. So when I think of offline data, I think things that are not real-time ingestion. For real-time ingestion, we have our REST interfaces, our message interfaces, all these technologies to do real-time integration. But we can also work with batch type integration for offline data. So if data is sent to us in a flat file, or if we're doing a nightly change data capture to capture the changes that happen throughout the day, or we intermediately receive a file from, say, a vendor that's sending us new product information once a month that we don't have access to in that vendor system. That can be processed in the batch system on a scheduled basis, or when those spreadsheets or files land. So that data does not have to be constantly connected to the MDM. It can come in an offline form. Hopefully I answered that question if I understand it correctly.
Yeah, I think so. One of the questions that I always have, and I love talking to folks that are kind of in the early engagement time frame. You're talking to obviously a lot of prospects, customers, and so forth. Who in the organization are you finding that you're most often engaging with, and who in the organization would you suggest potentially be involved in that early engagement?
That's really an interesting question. And of course, the answer is that depends. It depends on some things like what is the maturity of the data in that corporation. For instance, the corporation may already understand that they have a data problem, and they may already understand that master data is going to help them. So in that situation, they usually already have a team focused on data governance, focused on data quality, and possibly even focused on what might happen to master that data. So those are the people who are really focusing on that problem and need to understand how to solve it. You could also have an organization that's earlier on in the process. And this might be the type of organization where a C-level executive is looking at a report and not trusting that report. They see things that look suspicious or don't line up, and they say to somebody, check out this data. Turns out the data on that report is wrong. It takes them a month to figure out why and to fix it. And that C-level executive is saying to themselves, I just cannot operate my business this way. I need reliable data. I need to trust that it's correct. I need to speak to somebody who can solve this problem with me. So now you're solving that problem at the C-level of an organization. And then you also have MDM projects that have failed. It's sometimes if people don't have the right sponsorship, if they don't have the right adoption, they could have a failing MDM project. And this is where we come in and help them through our rapid development framework of what we do in 10 to 12 weeks to replace a failing project with a successful project.
Well, so let's talk about, I think, the bottom line for a lot of folks, which is an ROI assessment. Can you speak a little bit more about how that works with the Semarchy platform?
Yeah, so we do two levels of ROI assessment. One's sort of a high level assessment, and one's a very detailed assessment. The reason we do this is because not everybody has access to the detailed information necessary to do a very thorough investigation to ROI. So with the high level evaluation that we do is we use a lot of industry standard statistics. How long does it usually take to do something? How many resources, a full-time equivalent, does it take? What are the costs of those resources? What departments are affected by it? We have information across the industry on average that talks about the costs of the things that MDM is going to address. So we can give a high level return on investment estimate. If you have access to information like how much your employees cost on a whole for a full-time equivalent, what your projects are actually doing, how many people are looking to manually solve your problems that you're having that will have to be transitioned to things like data stewards, where are my expenses actually occurring, then we can plug that detailed level information into a much thorough investigation that we have. And it's all in spreadsheet form. It's all pretty easy to use and recalculate a very low level return on investment with a lot of detail.
Yeah, I'm just jumping around all over the Semarchy site, semarchy.com. There's just a whole host of resources available, including a resources tab with a bunch of other downloadables and other things available. We would certainly encourage everybody to go to semarchy.com and check out everything that's available, in addition to reaching out and engaging smart folks like Scott. But Scott, I have a question for you with regard to trials, proof of concepts? I mean, at that early stage, what can people expect in terms of that engagement? Is there a free trial? How do you guys work with regard to proofs of concept and so forth?
Yes, one of the things that's unique about Semarchy is we're completely open book. On our website is everything, is our software, is our documentation. We have many tutorials that you can do without registering that walk you through the entire life cycle of what our project would look like. In all of the cloud marketplaces, we're available for either trial or purchase. So you can simply go to the AWS or Azure or GCP marketplace and instantiate us from the marketplace and get a fully implemented platform from Semarchy and use our website to go through the tutorials or our documentation online to to investigate any questions you might have. And you don't even need to contact us for all of that. That can be done all on your own. If you do wish to contact us, and I hope you do, we do offer everything from a custom demo, which is just sort of a high level, what are your use cases and what would that look like, to a POC where we would work with your data and your use cases to actually develop a POC, all the way through to a paid engagement where we might be doing a pilot of your system. You want to spend X amount of weeks, like 3 weeks, to do your minimal viable product and develop something that can be used in production, but you're not ready to put it in production. You need it to get the buy-in and prove that this application will actually work. So those are all the different levels of engagement you can have with Semarchy.
Well, you know, we at Solutions Review are obviously recommending the best available solutions and letting our audience know about all of the various developments happening in the space. But I'm curious, because we help people with advice around buying things, but I'm curious what advice you might offer to our audience with regard to preparing for this next level of data management solution. I mean, I know there are a lot of people who have things in place and they may think they're okay, or they may think that they're not okay, and they're now starting to begin that internal conversation about stepping up to consider a new solution. What advice would you offer to somebody as they prepare to engage with some solution providers out there?
So my advice to be successful is that you focus on the high value first. You find out where the most pain is, what's costing you the most money or resources and problems in your organization that need to be addressed, because that's going to get you the most buy-in from the executives, the most resources to be able to proceed, and it's usually something that gets a lot of attention. But also, I suggest you focus on something that can be scoped so that you can be successful in those 10 to 12 weeks. Because the two things you're going to need is to show success early and to have adoption. If the users aren't adopting it and using it, it's not going to go anywhere. And if you can't show value quickly, your project's going to linger and not get the type of attention it wants because people aren't seeing those results. So there's this fine line between finding the pain points, but also identifying what you can scope in an early value situation. Some things that I like to concentrate on as my first pass are things like reference data. Reference data is great because it impacts everybody in the company. Everybody needs country codes, product codes, customer codes, all the types of things that are used for drop-down list boxes. And these are things that are in many different applications with many different values that need to be translated and mapped. And they're usually done by all different organizational units that need to be centralized. And that's a great thing to scope. Another one that's really great to start with is corporate finance. And there I'm talking about cost centers and general ledgers. These are usually situations where the information is in an older system that's inflexible, and you need to maintain hierarchies, flexible hierarchies with versions and alternate hierarchies to produce the cost centers and general ledger accounts that roll up the reports that you need. This is something that can have a high impact and in a short amount of time. So my advice is to try not to do a 3-year project. Try to find those high value projects to start with and gain your momentum.
Yeah, great advice. And I knew it would be solid coming from somebody who has seen a thing or two. This has been hugely valuable for me, and I think it's been hugely valuable for our audience as well. So, Scott, thanks very much for this. And again, we would encourage everybody to go check out everything you can see at Semarchy.com, and also, I mean, reach out and have a conversation with smart folks like Scott. Appreciate the time today. Best of luck for the rest of the year, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for having me.
Well, there you have it. Another solution in our spotlight. We want to thank Semarchy and Scott Moore for that fine presentation, and we appreciate your participation as well. Until next time, I'm Doug Atkinson here at Solutions Review. Thanks for watching.